Good evening. It's 7 p.m. Wednesday, June 6, 2018. This is a public hearing of the Town of Speedway Board of Zoning Appeals. I am Mike Simonson, Chairman of the Board. Other board members present tonight are Mike Allen, our Vice Chairman, and Steve Jones, a member of the board. Also in attendance is Michelle Leidy, our Recording Secretary, and Bob Clutter, our Town Attorney. Representing the Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development Planning Division is Ms. Kathleen Blackham. Have all who wish to speak been sworn in?
They have.
Thank you. Would all please mute or turn off any cell phones at this time. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rules for those who wish to speak this evening. Petitioner, remonstrators, or proponents each have 15 minutes to present their evidence. After that, we will hear from Kathleen Blackham from DMD. After her presentation, there will be a 5-minute rebuttal period for petitioners, remonstrators, or proponents. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our previous meeting?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or changes? Seeing none, they'll stand as printed. I need to notify the petitioners that since we only have 3 members here this evening, any decision by the board will have to be unanimous to be valid. If you wish to continue your petition to July, you need to let me know at this time. Otherwise, we'll proceed. Okay. Our first variance is 2018 DVS 004, 5999 Crawfordsville Road, also known as Young America Insurance Company. Petitioner or their representative step to the podium.
Yes, sir.
State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Francisco Pacheco. Address is 5999 Crawfordsville Road, Speedway, Indiana.
Thank you.
My petition for variance today is to have the ability due to dwelling zoning and I'm a tenant for an auto insurance company. The landlord has an office which is leased out to me, one of 9 in the Indianapolis, greater Indianapolis area. I haven't been able to put a sign up due to the dwelling zoning that is part of the front of the building.
Okay.
The back of the building is considered commercial, and subsequently I haven't been able to put my sign up, $10,000 sign I have.
Is the owner present this evening?
No, sir. I'm filing the variance on my company's behalf. It was recommended that I submit for a zoning change, being that we're not the landowners. I sought a different route, and the recommendation was to file a zoning variance, just due to the fact that they may have been granted in the past for previous businesses in the same location.
Well, before you proceed too much further, what I'm going to suggest or offer to you is a continuance of your petition for up to 6 months, and we are asking that the owner of the property take care of the multiple zoning issues with the parcel to get it zoned as a contiguous parcel so that these issues don't continue to come around for each new tenant or change of occupancy within the building.
Absolutely. Within the meantime, is there perhaps a contingent permit that I may have? I have a banner. It is aesthetically not up to par in my humble standards. We have 900 leases throughout the United States, and we have a particular name brand that we project. Perhaps if I may get a...
Your banner's been in place for how long?
For about 12 months to 18 months.
Yeah, so I think another 6 months is not going to be unreasonable. And if the landowner can take care of the zoning issues with the parcel and have it rezoned to a common zoning for the entire parcel, then we will rehear your petition at that time if it's even necessary.
It may not, okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's set in continuance up to 6
Up
months?
to 6 months to give them a little bit of time to work through that process. It's not a week-long process. It
Right.
might be more than a month long.
Right.
So I'm willing to offer a up to 6-month continuance, and when they get their situation straightened out, we'll then get back to the issue at hand.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Our next petition is 2018 UVS 005, 5252 Crawfordsville Road. State your name and address for the record.
Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Tim Oakes. I'm an attorney at Ice Miller with offices at 1 American Square, Suite 2900, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46282-0200. I'm here tonight representing the property owner, which is a member of the Lohr Corporation at 5252 Crawfordsville Road. Lohr Corporation is a locally based real estate development company that deals with typically smaller retail properties that's somewhat similar to this property. Also with me tonight is Don Ricks, of the CEO of Big Red Liquors, who will be the tenant of this property should this variance be granted. This is a use variance for a property that's zoned C3, located in a string of commercial buildings located right at the northeast corner of Lyndhurst and Crawfordsville Road. And we're asking for a use variance instead of trying to pursue a rezoning, which would include a whole string of additional uses besides a liquor store that's not necessary. A lot of people, and deservedly so, when they hear a packaged liquor store, oh boy. And I understand that, and Big Red Liquors understands that, because there are some operations out there that, quite frankly, the best way to put it, are bad apples, and they make it bad for everybody. But what's important to remember is not all operators are the same, and there are very good operators. And the good operators are those that the town of Speedway or any municipality should want. So with that, I'm going to introduce Don, and he's going to tell you just a little bit about Big Red Liquors.
Can I ask you one question before you
Sure.
bring him up to the podium? You're stating that you're only asking for a variance of use.
Yes.
However, there is also a developmental standard variance that is part of this
Oh, it is.
situation.
But yes.
And to my knowledge, of findings of fact for the developmental standards portion of the variance has not been filed with us.
We can cover that this evening.
That needs to be filed prior to the hearing,
Okay?
so that anyone interested in viewing it prior to the hearing has an opportunity to do so. It's part of the filing package. So,
Correct. That was not filed?
I don't know what you filed. It was filed here with
Roger never filed that
just use.
because he told me he had.
Let me double check, just get a second.
Okay.
Make sure.
findings of fact and variance of use.
I don't know what happened to it. Roger Kilmer of my office, who's a planner by background, had indicated to me that those had been filed. I know they were prepared because I reviewed them. So I'm at a loss, honestly, as to why they're not in that file.
Well, since we don't have them at this time and they have apparently not been filed with the original paperwork, I'm going to ask for continuance of this petition as well until the July hearing to give your office time to submit those for the record, and it will then have the time available for anybody who's interested in reviewing the package, that time span to do so prior to the hearing.
Does it not make sense to proceed forward with the use variance? And if that's not granted, then we're going to withdraw the other variance anyway.
My only concern with that is the notice issue. If, regardless one way or the other, a dissatisfied individual could appeal based upon the failure to provide, for whatever reason, the development standard findings of fact. And I think that's the president's concern also. So I think it would make more sense to keep them both together, but that's...
And to address that concern, the process by which that would occur would be a formal continuance of the development standards variance. Obviously, it's up to you. It's your discretion. It's your board. But having said that, there's nothing legally wrong with continuing the development standards variance. We'd submit the findings of fact in ample time for next month, and that could be considered. That was done at this public hearing. That was properly noticed. So from a notice perspective, there's nothing wrong with that. However, the agenda is at your discretion, which your council wholeheartedly agrees with, I'm sure.
Yes.
So if you want to continue it, that is up to you.
And typically, that's been the board's preference in the past, was to keep petitions together. But again, obviously,
I would prefer to have a complete package in hand prior to hearing the variance, because that's what our rules state, that in order for us to even docket a hearing, we must have a complete package filed. And unfortunately, it's been discovered that findings of fact was not in the initial filing, so I would ask that we continue it to July and give you time to prepare your...
That would be July the 4th. That's the first.
It would, having looked at the calendar, it would be Tuesday, July 10th is what we're proposing as our July hearing date. Because, yes, you're correct, July 4th is the first Wednesday of the month.
The meeting would be the following Tuesday.
It would be the following Tuesday of...
So I was having a small discussion on the process here, so
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The meeting in July would be Tuesday, July 10th.
That's
July 4th is our actual schedule meeting date, and that won't work for us.
Honestly, that does create a difficulty for us from a timing perspective, and we would like to be heard if we can't be, if it pushed all the way to July 10th, and our license requires that we be open by July 31st, and if we can't move forward, that makes that date awfully difficult. If we can get an indication that the use variance is approved, then then that's something that we can start lining up in terms of being able to satisfy our requirement. But again, it is certainly
But if,
your discretion, and if you vote to
but
continue
if
it, it
one
gets
is
continued.
approved and one is denied, you're still in limbo.
The use variance with a liquor license, what we have to do is we get a letter from the city that indicates that a liquor store is a permitted use. Forget development standard variances, that doesn't play a role, but it's a permitted use on the real estate to which their liquor license is going to be attached. So if the use variance were approved today, and there might not be a 3-0 vote, it would be continued anyway, and we understand that. But if the use variance were approved today, that would allow us to complete the application and get that to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission to be processed, and that can occur without the development standards variance. And it's an unusual situation, I'm sorry.
I mean,
Weigh in.
we usually hear everything together.
Have any input?
Well, like you said, if we hear that one and the other one's denied, then it really doesn't matter, so.
I mean, if you would approve tonight and then deny on the 10th, we wouldn't be able to use the site. And we understand that going in. And then we'd have to figure something else out. But moving forward tonight, if we were to obtain use variance, would allow us to continue to move forward.
I can understand your position, but I prefer to keep things together as one continuous process and not mix things up and push things around. So I'm going to ask that we continue this to the July 10th
Understood.
hearing. Can I get a voice vote from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Are you here to speak for or against the petition?
Yeah, I was going to go against it.
If you wish to speak, we'll go ahead and hear your testimony for the record, and that way you won't have to make a second.
I would suggest you not do that since you've already continued it.
Okay.
And and the petitioner has already left.
That's fine.
Okay.
So,
I'll come back.
All right.
No big deal.
So, seeing none, our meeting is adjourned at 7:20. And our next scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, July 10th, 2018, here at Town Hall.